Ni xin kính chào quý vị và chào đón quý vị đến với chương trình hôm nay. Và trong chương trình hôm nay, Hằng Ni cùng với một người dày dặn kinh nghiệm trong ngành luật sẽ thảo luận về những cái vấn đề về quyền lợi của người lao động ở tại California của chúng ta, cũng như là cho quý vị biết thêm về những thông tin luật pháp và thêm một cái quan trọng nữa, đó là những cái tình huống như thế nào chúng ta biết đến để khi chúng ta gặp những cái tai nạn ngay chính trong cái việc làm của chúng ta thì chúng ta cũng có thể có được cái quyền lợi mà mỗi người cần có. Và được cùng đồng hành với Hằng Ni hôm nay đó chính là một người luật sư là Robert Williard. Ông đến từ văn phòng The Law Offices of Nanta Associates. And hello Robert, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for asking. Xin chào.
Ông đến từ văn phòng The Law Offices of Nanta Associates và ông cũng là một trong những chính ủy viên của tiểu bang The State Bar of California chuyên về những cái ngành pháp lý. Và Hằng Ni còn được biết đến ông cũng là một người quan tòa ở tại chính tiểu bang California của chúng ta. Robert, first of all, I have a question for you. A lot of people mention about workers' comp, but not too many people understand what it means, though. So would you please give us a brief summary of what is workers' comp?
Oh, sure. Very common. Workers' compensation, think of it this way. Money in medical treatment for injuries on the job. So if you're injured on the job, you can get medical treatment and money at your employer's or their insurance company's expense. So you can heal and work.
Really? It's just that simple?
It's that simple.
Wow.
It's California law requires every employer to have workers' comp insurance.
Right.
And the deal is we want to make sure that people can keep working. So if you're injured on the job, they're obligated to get you treatment. They're obligated to pay for your treatment and to pay for the time you lost from work if you can't work. This is workers' compensation.
So it seems like everybody is entitled to workers' compensation then.
My name is Ricardo Testai. I'm 36 years old. I'm a jiu-jitsu fighter and now I'm also a jiu-jitsu instructor. I used to teach and compete before in a company where I got many injuries. I injured my back, my knee, my shoulder. My back starts hurting and I couldn't move my body really well. I was having a hard time to play with my boy and everything. Then I look for the office, for Robert. He knows what he's doing. He understands everything about the law and everything. He's great. And at the end, we settled my case in way much more than I was expecting to receive. It was great.
Kính thưa quý vị, Hằng Ni muốn biết thêm là ví dụ như là khi chúng ta ở tại công việc của chúng ta, ví dụ như một người bưng phở đi, thì tự nhiên bị té ngay chỗ việc làm thì không biết có thể mình claim cái workers' comp được không?
If you're at work and you work for the restaurant and you slip and fall, that's a work injury. And you're entitled to compensation for the work injury. So you report it, your employer has to send you for treatment. And if you can't work because you're injured, you get money for that.
What about the other examples of the workers' compensation, though?
Workers' compensation can be any injury at work. So don't just think of it as a physical injury, as a slip and fall, or you fall off a ladder. Some injuries, in fact, a lot of injuries, are mental. So if you're at work, and let's say you're a secretary, and your boss is giving you a hard time, or your coworkers are saying that you're ugly or you're fat, and you get worried and you get stressed, that can be a work injury too.
Right.
And most people don't know that. You can get benefits for that if you have to go see a doctor to get medication so you can handle the stress at work so you can keep working.
Now, technician, every single day they inhale the chemical, and over time it will create severe medical conditions. Would that be another workers' comp?
But that's another good example.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people work around chemicals, and they may work around the chemicals every day. If they work around the chemicals every day and they start having trouble breathing, or they have skin problems, or they may think they're just getting old. But no, if you need to go to the doctor, you tell the doctor your work duties, and if the doctor says part of those chemicals affect your condition,
Right.
even if you already have asthma, if those chemicals worsen the condition, you have a workers' compensation claim. So it's really important for you to report that to your employer.
You know, one thing that I have a question of is that, for example, if I work at this place for like a month, I was injured and then I quit, and then a year later that injury bothers me, can I go back and have a claim on that?
That's okay too. Under California law, your employer has to tell you you have a right to workers' compensation. And most of them don't do that, but if they do, here's what they do. They put a little poster in really small print, and usually not in Vietnamese, and they hide it in the kitchen room, so you don't even know that you can report an injury, or you might be afraid of losing your job, right? So you get the cut in the finger, or you have trouble breathing, falling. It's only been a month, and then you stop working. Then a year later, that's what happens. You get worse. That cut starts to really hurt. You have trouble breathing. They didn't adequately provide you notice of your rights. You can still file, and it's really important for you. It's really important for you to do that, because most people are afraid to report an injury because they're afraid they're going to get fired. But you should just tell them you're having problems at work, because their insurance company takes care of it. It's not coming from your employer, it's the insurance. And if you're injured at work, I got to tell you, you might as well dial 1-800-I'm bleeding to death, because they don't care about you. So you need to report it and get a lawyer.
It's probably because they don't know the injury is severe enough. For example, they say, oh, I'm not breaking my arms or my leg, why would I want to report it? But they didn't know that even a little injury, they can still get the claim for the workers' camp.
Well, that's your 1-year example. Usually, you may think you cut the finger and it's not a big deal. So you don't know that you have a work injury. You think it's just first aid. Then you go to a doctor a year later and the doctor tells you it's related to work. Right. Once the doctor tells you, then you can file. It's not too late, because you didn't know when you were injured that it was really an injury. So it's okay.
Honey biết không, những cái cụm từ workers không mà chúng ta không có hiểu mấy. Còn một cái cụm từ khác mà khá là quan trọng, đó chính là chấn thương tích lũy trong nhiều năm qua. Và những cái đó có nhiều người bị lắm, tuy nhiên người ta không có thể nào biết được đó là cái như thế nào. Cho nên Hằng sẽ hỏi luật sư Robert là chấn thương tích lũy có nghĩa là gì?
Oh, that's an injury almost nobody knows about except lawyers and doctors. And think of this. Cumulative means builds up over time. Trauma means your daily job duties. Here's an example. So if you are a secretary at work and you type every day, all right, you feel fine for a while. But after about a year, or after 6 months, you start to feel a little pain or numbness and tingling in your fingers. That's the accumulation of the trauma, the typing, that builds up. And eventually, you're going to need medication or treatment, all right? And when you need the medication and the treatment, you tell the doctor your job duties. He tells you you have an injury or a condition. That's the cumulative trauma injury. Right. And you don't have to report that until a doctor tells you you have an injury related to your job duties that accumulated over time. So you can still report it late, even sometimes or many times after you're fired, because you haven't seen a doctor. You're a hard worker. You just keep working. And then you're fired or you quit, and then you see a doctor, and then he tells you it was related to the prior job. You can still file a claim.
It affects you.
Yeah, and the employers don't want to pay, right? They don't, like I said, if you're injured on the job, you might as well dial 1-800-I'm bleeding to death, because they do not care. That's why you should get an attorney.
Dạ vâng, thưa quý vị, như chúng ta hay nói là thời gian không chờ đợi ai cả. Cho nên quý vị nào mà đang bị chấn thương và đang đau khổ với cái chấn thương đó mà không biết mình phải làm gì, quý vị cứ bắt điện thoại lên và gọi vào cho the Law Offices of Nantes Associates để chúng ta có thể biết thêm những chi tiết về quyền lợi mà mình có, tuy nhiên mình không hề biết đến. Want to say the last few words to the audience?
If you have an injury at work, or you discover an injury after you quit working or you're fired, or you don't report an injury because you're afraid, and you don't see all the notices at work, get an attorney, all right? And don't be worried that it's your employer paying. It's not. It's their insurance company, and they don't care about you. And you need to care about yourself. So you should get an attorney and file a claim.
Cảm ơn quý vị thêm một lần nữa đã theo dõi chương trình. Chúc quý vị luôn luôn hạnh phúc, an lành bên gia đình và bạn bè của mình. Và một điều quan trọng nhất là luôn luôn khỏe mạnh.